Let's get a call on line one and bring Bill in there. Let's just get Bill in to get in the conversation here. Oh, Bill, you live with Joe.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
Is this Mr. Hynes?
This is Mr. Hynes.
This is Mr. Bill Hynes. Go ahead, Mr. Hynes. Introduce yourself. Tell them why you're calling in. Of course, I put out a call to discuss the CRIZ, so why don't you let us know what's going down with it?
Oh, okay. So we'll go back to your first. My name is Bill Hynes. I'm the CEO of Think Loud Development. People in New York should know that name in the surrounding communities as well. Manuel Gomez is obviously running on the libertarian platform, and it's a great platform. But as a libertarian, I'm shocked that he's against the CRIZ and doesn't fully understand the legislation of the CRIZ. As a libertarian, shouldn't they want to see state and local taxes reinvested right back into the community rather than go back to the state general fund? The CRIZ is a performance-based economic development mechanism that gives only new business, private businesses, for net new jobs. They go back into the bucket, these taxes, so, go right back into the community. He wants to preach, corporate welfare, and
that's what it is.
It's not, because you unfortunately in this day and age, you need different economic development programs, or companies aren't coming. So you want to think that corporations are getting rich and lining their pockets when you don't see the millions of dollars that these corporations pay in taxes, that I pay in taxes, the hundreds of people that I employ, that have medical benefits that I have to pay, that we absorb. My medical benefits through Obamacare went up over 356% this year. Okay? So, but we pay it, and we employ hundreds of people in the state of Pennsylvania. We're about to employ another 400. So when you say that you can then take these taxes, okay, and it's not taking school taxes or anything away from the local community. The state of Pennsylvania is saying you can take these taxes. What we'll do is you pay your state taxes for, say, 20 years. In Allentown, they have the NIZ. It's a 30-year program. And it comes back to you, and it helps you pay some debt service. Okay? It's not giving you a free, you still have to pay your local taxes. You still have to pay all your workman's comp and health care benefits and wages to these employees, and you're bringing hundreds of people and you're stirring economic development. And that's how things get done. I mean, what you should be against is personal welfare.
Well, I disagree. I thank Mr. Hynes for actually accepting my call to have a little bit of a debate and a discussion and foster a little bit more awareness. I really do, and I thank you for the platform as well. I think that the public needs to hear this. He's given us his opinion as a CEO and as somebody who is in the business environment and supports the city revitalization and improvement zones. Well, now I'm going to give you my perspective as not only a libertarian, but as a taxpayer, a consumer, and a resident of the city, and why I think it's bad. What you're doing is you are actually diverting local taxes, your business, your occupational taxes, your local earned income tax is actually being diverted along with the state funds. Those are all being encumbered and diverted. So there is a loss to the local city that is being diverted, and unless you meet a threshold, you're not going to make that back. Aside from that, when you're diverting these tax funds, it creates an unfair competitive advantage for those who do receive the corporate welfare and get to divert the tax funds to pay for bonds and business improvements. But those little guys and those small businesses, which actually create the majority of jobs, those small firms of 100 employees or less, those are the ones who actually have to make the slack. In the meantime, if at all, while those tax diversion programs are returned back to the community, as Mr. Hynes said. And the problem with that is, if you're going to take money from the community and purportedly return it back, well, this libertarian is going to tell you, then don't take it from the community anyway. Let them keep it. Because if it was actually a return, you wouldn't take it in the first place, number one. Number two, let me clear something up as a libertarian. Mr. Hynes says that he believes that I should perhaps, according to that philosophical stance, approve of a certain business or special interest getting a tax incentive or a tax credit. Well, I don't. I don't, because you're benefiting the few to burden the many. You're having the government pick the winners and the losers to the detriment of everybody else at large, you see. So there's a fundamental difference there, Mr. Hynes, that you have to understand when you make those assertions on a philosophical level.
So when these companies can't come to town and create these hundreds of jobs, you know, what do you say to those families that are unemployed?
What I say is well, I actually want to address that, Mr. Hynes. As a libertarian, I want to address those conditions. When I say
where are those jobs coming from?
remove the barriers to entry, okay? Streamline and simplify the regulatory process, and of course, cut the cost of doing business in the city. And I think CEOs like yourself, from the big guys to the middlemen and the small firms, would be very happy with that, you see? That's what you should do. Lessen the cost penalties, lessen the tax burden for the corporations and everyone in between, and I think we would not be having these discussions of these tax credits and incentives. Because just like the KOZ, Mr. Hynes, just like the NIZ in Allentown, which you're very familiar with, and I think you said you have projects in, it's a flawed process. And although we learned from the NIZ in Allentown, we will see that the public's going to be left holding the bag when this doesn't go through.
I agree with some of your comments. There is a flawed process.
Right.
The taxes in the city of York, way too high.
Yeah.
Way too high. Just the taxes are in Reading, a lot of them for transfer tax, way too high. They're getting 5% on a transfer tax. So, you know, how does that spur? How do you, like, if I'm in that area and I was like, well, I want to buy in Reading or I want to buy in Wyomissing where it's only 2%. You know, that 3% is critical to spurring economic development and weighing in on somebody's choice on where they would like to go and do business.
I agree.
You know, because in that, $50,000 can make a huge difference.
So look at this, Bill.
That 3% is that. But let me finish.
Okay.
However, you know, as a CEO, you know, and whereas me and my three partners are in the rock band Live, multi-platinum rock band. So we're playing the game, and with the rules that we were giving. Okay. So my job, I want to create jobs. It's about job creation. Right. I want to give my employees, you know, the best possible benefits. And if you talk to all of our employees, the hundreds that we have, and then our partners who have, some of our business partners have thousands of people employed. And you would tell that the quality of work, who they work for, the benefits, you know, we run these like families. So, you know, in a general term, I'm sure you're talking about the big Fortune 100 and 500 companies, but I take offense to some of your comments when you're saying it's corporate welfare. Okay? No. Because 100%, so everything we've done, I've never taken so far a tax credit from anything. 100% of every single project, you go on 210 York Street, that's an $18 million project. 100% of that building was paid for by members of Think Loud. There's not even a loan on that one.
And that's wonderful.
It creates jobs and job creation.
That's
so
wonderful.
I take offense when you have those general terms of corporate welfare and subsidies and everything else.
You shouldn't take offense, Bill. What I tell you is anyone who takes a subsidy, and especially a direct tax credit or subsidy from the public coffers, whether it's local or state, or in this case with the CRIZ, a combination of both, and transfer it to a private developer, that is by definition corporate welfare.
You just said the taxes are too high.
They are.
So is a tax credit or a subsidy or quote unquote corporate welfare?
Yes, it is.
An acknowledgement by the state and the city and the county and the local taxing authority, an acknowledgement that taxes are high.
I think they are.
Remedy the situation.
I think it is, but it doesn't remedy the situation.
Well,
it remedies the situation, because I believe you called it economic stimulus. It remedies the situation for those that are being stimulated. Who are you stimulating and how? That is the question, you see. The general tax base at large.
The single mom who I give a job that has 3 kids starving, that needs benefits, that can no longer afford to pay them.
Well, see, these are the anecdotes that I mentioned at council.
Dad, that's a widower.
These are the anecdotes I mentioned at council where they say, you know, there's going to be this, there's going to be that, but when you look at the CRIZ, Mr. Hynes...
I mean, you know what? I mean, with city council and you guys and everyone who do that, I mean, you know, I'm not a fan of that whole process. I mean, everyone...
It's red tape.
People go there, and all I see is talk, and then they table stuff, and you talk some more, and then you talk some more, and then the people talk some more. And
it's bureaucracy.
So everyone on city council, and then including yourself, I mean, it's great. You guys have all mastered the English dictionary and the thesaurus, and you have big words and fancy words, but what are you what is the council, what are every politician doing? And I'll tell you, you're getting in the way of the businesses like myself
Not this
from
guy.
actually creating jobs.
Not this
and
guy.
doing things.
I have the track record of arguing and pushing for policies that actually remove barriers to entry.
This is negativity.
You're not talking to a bureaucrat here.
Well, I hope not. I hope
You
you're
see?
not going to be one of those people, because people like myself and my partners, the rock band Live,
Right.
it was always about, and our company Think Loud, our philosophical platform is connecting people and bringing people together, and we've been doing that.
Okay.
So if I want to push, I'm with you right there. I want to push for lower taxes. Okay, I want to, I want more law enforcement. I want more fire protection.
This is what businesses need.
Exactly.
You need that
Businesses
infrastructure,
wanna feel safe.
to make business
Young
viable.
urban professional, or the single mom, or the single dad that wants to put their kids in the school system. They want to be able to walk down the street. And
You
not
know, Mr. Hynes,
fear.
you know what you're doing? You're actually making a lot of the points that I make when I say that a lot of what CRIZ, even, let's say you get past the philosophical argument of, hey, is CRIZ corporate welfare and is corporate welfare appropriate? Let's get past that. Well, then you have to study, do we actually have the infrastructure to make CRIZ an actual success once you get past that philosophical barrier and you say, would we actually be attracting companies from out of state? Because you have to say, do we have the schools to support, let's say, a firm and maybe 200-300 employees, let's say from Annapolis, Maryland, to come into York and say, you know what, we like your school, infrastructure, crime, and law enforcement apparatus. We're going to move our firm there. I'm going to say, we're not quite ready. We're not there. You know? So even if you get past the philosophical arguments, there are still some contradictions and inconsistencies that probably don't put us at the best place.
However, I agree with you in certain aspects of that, because yes, in certain areas, York is not ready.
Right.
To say influx of 1,000 families for jobs tomorrow. Something has to be fixed with the education.
Especially not
system,
white collar.
Something. I agree with that point. But the thing is, you have to start somewhere, and we have to start bringing jobs here, and we have to start bringing companies in here, even small companies, little franchises like the Subways and the Cold.
I think that's where the key lies, actually.
And really, like you said, the smaller businesses are creating jobs as well, but there are bigger businesses and middle businesses that create, hundreds of jobs at a time. It's important. It's all important. And, just because there's going to be a little hard work, and say, well, we're not ready yet. So
No, it's not about hard work, Bill.
Lancaster or Harrisburg or someone else get this program. But, if the state is giving us this program,
I don't need it.
I'm telling you it works.
I don't need it.
No, I don't believe in corporate welfare. I don't believe that it works. Obviously, Allentown, and I hope you would agree with this point, because many others do, even the proponents say that Allentown is still too early to determine whether it's not the NIZ, which of course is the predecessor to the CRIZ. It's too early to determine whether or not that's actually been a success, and there are no metrics or benchmarks where we can look and say there actually are.
It gets every quarter, the whole process gets audited. There's a performance metrics are in place.
No, the CRIZ has some metrics which are and a few safeguards.
The NIZ, the NIZ. Okay, so what they did with the NIZ is, there were certain things that they acknowledged that they did wrong, and that's why they came with the CRIZ to try to, fix some of those issues.
But I want to ask you a question, though.
Hold on. However, when you walk down Allentown and you notice the neighborhood changing, and you notice the arena going up, and the National Bank Penn headquarters, and then the over $800 million in construction, and then you look at the not hundreds but thousands of construction workers and people that are being employed in that downtown area every single day.
Now I want to ask you something.
How is that not good?
Okay, I want to ask you something, sort of to lead into me giving you your response on that one, because that's something we hear a lot. For example, do you have
you been there yet?
Do you have? No, absolutely not. Do you? There's nothing novel.
Walk down the street.
There's nothing novel about corporate welfare and central planning and the sort of speculation that these bureaucrats are engaging in when they tell us that this is going to work. We heard it all with the KOZs, Mr. Hynes. We've heard it all with the TIF, with the LERTA. We've heard it all, frankly. But let me ask you a question. Can you tell me, do you have projects in the NIZ in Allentown?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
yes, I
now,
do.
Were your companies profitable at all before you entered the NIZ?
Yes.
Okay, so that's part of the problem. if we have corporations that admittedly, as you just admitted as a CEO, have profitable businesses, why are they receiving assistance? If your business is profitable, you're taking it because it's there. As you said, you're playing the game according to the rules that are being made available.
No, see, when you say profit, there's two different things. One's profit and then lining my pockets so that I can just, create, additional wealth. So when a company has profit, okay, a company then can reinvest into technology. A company can then reinvest into infrastructure. A company then can reinvest into people and hire more people and create that intellectual capital that the cities need. So, I'm not going to apologize that I'm a very successful man and that my partners are. And
you should apologize for the corporate welfare that you take and taking public people's money to invest in your private businesses, philosophically, I'd say.
So when you see the millions and millions of dollars that we pay a year in taxes, okay, and like I said, so when you go to your personal taxes and you say, well, you got 2 kids, you get to take $8,000 deduction. Oh, you only made under X amount, so you get earned income tax. What about those deductions? It's across the board. There's deductions all over the board.
Those are not, the small man doesn't get any deductions to the level of the corporate welfare that we're talking here. There's not at all.
That you're saying, and nobody's a small man, but you're using that term, so the small man gets a job.
Speaking economically.
Economically, they get a job. If companies like me, with my vision and my partner's vision and other companies weren't around, where would the jobs go?
Well, the bureaucrats and the construction companies love it. The developers love it. Now, does the general tax base at large love it? I'm here to tell you no. As I go door to door, people tell me no more subsidies, tax credits, and special packages to special interests and developers. They just don't support it, Mr. Hynes. Neither do I.
I think you don't fully understand the CRIZ or the NIS.
I absolutely do. On a technical level, on a philosophical level, and even on a real world, as you say, layman terms level. It's grift.
I think you strap on your boots and you can take a walk in Allentown, and I'll be more than happy to go with you, and we could spend a day together. And
let's walk around here in York, Mr. Hynes. I mean, I would love to do that with you right here.
We can do it right there.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in. I really do appreciate the discussion and you standing up to, defend your position as a developer, tout some of the merits that you see as a businessman, because it's a very legitimate perspective. I think that these are the discussions we need to have, not only on a local level, but beyond. What works for business?
I'm open to healthy discussion, and it's about, again, it's all about economic development and bringing jobs and job creation to the city and making York a better place to live. So
and I think that's what we all want.
As long as we all have that goal in mind, and you're out there doing things and making it happen instead of just talking about it.
So has he taken?
I'm doing things.
Sorry, Matt. So have you taken? So has he made investments here in New York? The businesses here in New York that we're just doing?
With Mr. Hynes?
Yeah.
What was the question again?
Are you making investments here in New York? A bit of things.
Yeah, tell him about your investment right there on York Street.
Yeah, I think I heard something about it.
So in York, we have one project. It's an $18 million project.
Okay.
There was not a dime of any type of city, state, local tax subsidy or whatever.
Now, will you be pursuing LRTA or anything like that, Bill?
We have not pursued LRTA. We actually declined LRTA to pay, and we've paid our. If you could check, obviously it's open record. You can check. We have not submitted a LRTA application last year. This year, we paid our full 100% taxes. Okay. Right. So we did not take a subsidy or a handout from the city.
See, and you came in without being lured with subsidies, you see?
True, but it wasn't, we weren't bored because the 3 members of Live were hometown boys. They're sons of Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
so there was a connection.
They wanted to go back to their hometown. So now we're building other ancillary buildings on the parcel and other areas. It's no secret we're building a state-of-the-art data center, and we're running a large fiber optic line from New York City to Virginia that goes through York, Pennsylvania. So when that fiber optic line is in, it hopefully will spur other companies to want to be, let's face it, you're either on the information superhighway or you're not.
No, we need that critical infrastructure. That is a wonderful thing to be happening.
This is what we're doing, and again, like I said, the hundreds of millions of dollars that have personally come out of the pockets, of my partners and all our business partners to put this together. And, some banks haven't even understood what we were doing and wouldn't do it. So it's either roll your sleeves up and get it done.
Okay.
So, and that's what we had to do. So when you go into corporate welfare, like...
Well, that wouldn't apply. If you're using your personal funds, that doesn't apply.
I would take offense to that. But my point is, if they have the CRIZ, and that's a little help in saying, okay, you can... So our other company, United Fiber and Data, will pay over $2.2 billion in Pennsylvania state tax revenue. Okay? So if they're going to say, hey guys, we can give you like $100 million of that back, think about it, of $2.2 billion that we're going to pay. They say, we'll give you about $100 million or $50 million back.
Yeah, because I know there's a 20%, isn't there a 20% figure? There has to be a 20% private match for there has to be one private dollar for every 5 public dollars, the way the CRIZ is going to be made. I think that your company is actually could make out like bandits with a situation like that because you are actually successful,
No, we're not looking to make out like bandits. We're really, like I said, we're not trying to, my partners and myself, we have more than enough money to we could retire tomorrow.
Well, that's the thing, and that's kind of what bugs me, You are profitable, so you would say, why would you need the assistance? I understand what you're saying,
No, because, you know what, I mean, should I have to spend every penny of, like, what about, paying for my kids' education and have it so my kids, I came from a single mom with 6 kids, on welfare. So I had I had just the same opportunity as anyone else. I came from a public school system in Hillside, New Jersey. And I did it myself. I didn't say, well, I was that family that somebody knocked on your door 2 days before Thanksgiving and they handed you a turkey. That's how I thought turkeys came.
Have you looked at any other possible properties to invest in New York at all?
There's a good question.
We currently own over 45 properties in New York City, and we paid cash for every single one of them.
Okay.
And some of them, they're old row homes or dilapidated houses. We're going to knock them down. We're going to knock them down very soon, and we're going to rebuild new ones.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be so when you buy a house for $20,000 or $15,000 in York and you knock it down for 10 to 20 and you have to rebuild it for $150 and you can only sell it for $70.
If you're lucky.
I'm giving. Well, that's my point though. So on the conversely, then my company is subsidizing people to come in and live there. And
you wouldn't do it if there weren't a profit margin now. Let's be realistic here. You understand the cost of doing business, and you're making an investment because you expect a return. And now you admitted yourself, you came in without seeking subsidies, you see? So I think that's more to my point that the subsidies aren't necessarily a driving factor in luring businesses in and the corporate welfare. I think more it's the general business environment and your ability to adapt to it and operate within it. That's what I think I can do if I were to be in government, is to relax those regulations, make things streamlined and simplified so that you guys and more think louds, there's only one think loud, I think you should appreciate me saying that, but more enterprises can actually move in and serve as a complement to some of the things that you're doing.
Well, and I agree. And my point is, if you can work and you lower taxes, and you lower the taxes, isn't that an acknowledgement, though? Like I said, I keep going back to that. An acknowledgement that something's flawed, so they're trying to give back.
We agree.
So when you lower, say, the millage rate for school taxes,
I would if I could.
If you get elected and you lower taxes across the board in the county and the city and all this other stuff or whatever, however high you go in politics, did you just then create corporate welfare by giving people money back?
No, you're not. You create corporate welfare when you sequester it to a special applicant or to special interests. It's not corporate welfare when it's across the board, Bill.
Yeah, but
that's what you're not registering.
There's rules according to the CRIZ. You have to create jobs. Okay? And it's net new jobs.
Right. With the CRIZ, yes.
It's not like just moving stuff around like a chess game.
But you are, because that windfall, that loss that comes from the tax diversion has to be made up by the rest of the tax base, Mr. Hynes.
It's not a windfall.
It doesn't just...
You're not getting all this money and then taking a trip to Hawaii. I mean, that's your misconception. when you hire more employees, all that is doing is helping to pay debt service for a piece of real estate. Let's face it, which is typically probably going to be overpriced. The taxes are going to be more than they should be.
You're not getting any argument from me on that and on those points.
So the cost is I have to pay health insurance. Now, the CRIZ ain't helping with that. I have to pay benefits. They're not going to pay for that.
It's the cost of doing business, and we know we have to deal with those things in New York.
Exactly, but you know, don't you a company that you know is profitable stays in business. A company that doesn't make money goes out of business. It's that simple. Do you want, so at the end of the year, December 31st comes, do you want every single company at the, you know, just to make $1?
Oh, thank you.
What was that, Mr. Hynes? Can you repeat that?
It made $1,000.
I'm saying at the end of every year, every single company, from Coca-Cola all down to the little guy, at the end of the year, December 31st, is it your position that you just want them to, like their net profit?
Absolutely not. I'm not attacking profits. I'm not attacking profits. I'm attacking those that will and that have and want to continue to take from one person to give to another according to special interests. I do not like the special burden that is being applied. If you want to relax taxes across the board. That's always been my position, Mr. Hynes.
It's a new company, so you're not taking anything from anyone else in the previous past.
New or old, if you're going to relax the regulations, do it for everyone.
Okay, I know. I'm sorry.
Well, I agree that. I mean, I think if they're going to have the CRIZ, they should have it in every single town.
Yeah, I don't think, no CRIZ. No CRIZ. Just do it flat across the board, Mr. Hynes, no CRIZ.
Well, whatever you want to call it.
Now I had a question I want to ask you. Okay, when we're talking about lowering taxes, can you give me a figure of what percentage you want taxes lowered you think would be appropriate for businesses? 0%. Besides zero.
Okay. Well, you can't have zero. I mean,
I know that.
You have to pay for it.
We could argue that, but that would get into some other things. So.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You know.
Just throw me out some kind of number.
As a businessman, what would you say? In York?
You know what?
It's hard to say.
For York, I mean, I don't know. I think York should be in line with any other city around it. I mean, I don't know. Like, you know, I went to public school, and my kids go to public school back where you know, my main residence is in Lehigh County. It's you know, the school system is great there, and the taxes, you know, are just crazy in York, and I'm still trying to figure that one out. So that baffles me.
Yeah, it baffles all of us.
Yeah, but again, I'm just saying, you know, what do you don't have no idea what percentage you'd want them lowered to? See, I'm looking at other people that are listening to this station, maybe some of the city council members.
Zero is simple.
Honestly, I would say you would. What they should do is look at similar cities of size, and try to make it match those or have an average of that.
So you mean you didn't want to go by what our population, what our tax base is, and to go by that, right?
But I think if you look into that, you probably would see a 20 to 40% tax drop.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear.
You know, Mr. Jackson, we have a per capita income of about $13,000 in the city. So when you look at the tax base and what could really be shouldered as far as the population at large, couple that with the lack of businesses, that activity that we've been in a lull now for a while, it's tough, so I can see why it's a difficult question to answer. Of course, I say zero. That's not realistic the way our budgetary process is set up.
But if we can bring back the population, bring the people back, and our tax base would go up, then
and that's the thing. You have a lot of homes. I mean, you just drive up and down any city street in York, and you see those yellow stickers and the red stickers, and the red cross on it say "Don't enter." So there's a lot of inventory that nobody's paying for. That, and obviously there's a lot of nonprofits.
Yes, there is.
Special interests that, you know, they create these nonprofits that some of their CEOs make millions of dollars. But their companies don't pay any taxes. So how do you fix that too? I mean, we can go on and on and on and talk about other things and corporate welfare. I mean, you know, and I'm sure Manny has some of my views on that as well, and I'm sure we share some same beliefs. So I'm not saying, you know, I'm against everything, you know, Manny's about, because I think he has some great ideas. But, I think
We just disagree on the CRIZ.
Well, on the CRIZ, but you know what? I think you know, when I hear that, it's like, you know, again, I take offense to it because
No, it's
you
not
know,
meant to.
know,
It's not meant to give
no,
offense.
I know what. Look, you know what though? There are companies out there that take advantage of the process, and you know what? Are Fortune 100 companies out there paying like $10 in taxes a year? Like, how does that happen? I have no idea. But for someone like myself and my three partners who are doing their fair share and are proud of what we're doing and giving back to the community, and even like we've donated a bomb dog to the county of York. You know, that costs tens of thousands of dollars. We've donated the material, well, the money to put those gates up between all those homes that have the alleys and stuff like that, and Kinley Construction donated the labor to put in there. So
I think most people would appreciate your charitable contributions, as do I,
yeah,
of course.
I don't want the perception to be out that, you know, all these companies are out there just taking this money and hoarding it and having these, you know.
No, I don't think that's the
trips around the
perception.
world. We are giving back, and we're creating jobs. And,
yeah, I don't think that's the perception. Of course, some people, like myself, of course, my supporters and many of the people I've talked to, well, most of them don't agree with the program, but that's not to say that we're maligning even some of the potential applicants or prospective suitors of these programs.
Oh, I wouldn't
As you said, you're playing according to the rules that are laid down.
I wouldn't say I agree with the like if I had to do it, I would do it differently. But again, if I'm playing baseball, I have to play by baseball rules. If I'm playing football, I have to play football rules. You know, same
You have to
with
remain
basketball.
competitive.
So I want my thing is I'm greedy. I want those jobs for York, Pennsylvania. I want to bring business to York, Pennsylvania. I want to rebuild all those homes. That's why we're taking our own personal cash and buying these houses.
Because it's all potential.
Businesses. So yeah, it is potential, and you know, so I want to be greedy, and my partners want to be greedy. We want to do as much for York as possible. So if there's this little program that we can use and gives us a small percentage of what we pay back,
I think you can be successful. When I hear your ambition, and obviously you have a tremendous business acumen, you've been successful in other areas, and you're now exploiting York's business environment, I think you can be successful without those subsidies. Of course, you don't agree, but I think you will. Obviously, you came without the CRIZ. The CRIZ wasn't on the map. It wasn't even approved until July, and yet here you are.
So I agree with you. I agree with you. Things would still get done. But so the reason I became business partners with my three partners, like when I was doing it alone, I was at one level. When they were doing it alone, they were at one level. When you combine forces and you have more capital, you can do bigger, better things.
Larger
so when
investments.
when you have these programs, now, you know, if there's a way for businesses to stretch a dollar further, no different than if the single mom, if she can take $100 and be able to stretch it to $125.
The subsidies do it on the backs of the people, Mr. Hynes, and that's why I don't agree with it. And if it does fail, and of course there are some more safeguards than there is.
How many people am I paying unemployment for that I shouldn't have to pay? Because
well, that's just the cost of doing business.
You know, what's the cost of doing business? And what about welfare and all that stuff? And
It's a minuscule fraction of the amount of something what corporate welfare is.
I think if you add that up, you'd see it's a lot of money. It's
minuscule compared to what the corporations receive. It's actually minuscule. And many people would argue, you know, that direct cash assistance or food assistance is not as repugnant, you would say, as a business developer.
No, I'm not
getting
talking
public
about
money.
food, because I'm not talking about direct food assistance, because you know what? The direct food assistance, you know, kept me alive for many years as a child in New Jersey. So for that, I'm grateful.
Okay. Mr. Hynes, let me ask you a question. Is it possible I can get you to be a guest on the show here?
Sounds like a good idea.
Without question.
Okay. Well, before you go up, I don't want your number out on the air here. I'm going to have you to phone back into my director, and we'll get that information.
Well, you can put my number out on the air. But
do you want me to? No. Does he hear?
Gets a lot of viewers.
Yeah, you get a lot of viewers. I don't know.
They're not all friendly.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask you is this: what do you think of the station that since you're watching us here? But what do you think of the station here? That you're watching it.
The White Rose station.
Yeah.
Well, I think, oh man, what's his name? Cliff and, was it Joe? What's the other guy's name? Oh man, the names are escaping me. I know Cliff, and then I forget the other guy.
Steve Bush?
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Steve, I think they're doing a great job. I think, you know, I think it serves a need for
Steve
the
Bush.
area. Sorry about
He
that.
coming out there to say his name,
Yeah, I
Steve
got a
Bush.
brain
Yes,
for it.
Steve Bush.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. Jeez.
Yeah, we
No,
got.
I think they do a great job. I think
See, this is the thing. This is the thing I was trying to. This what the purpose of my program is. I want to keep it that for the community like yourself, people like yourself, so you can talk to the people of what's going on, and just make a good dialogue back and forth like what you're doing right now
Tremendous
with Manny.
platform.
And to get into people really see the real things that are happening from somebody telling you a story. You know?
There you go.
Exactly.
And that's what's so important. I've done for the last 24 years. I've been trying to keep it this way for us, and that's why I invited people, regardless of whether I agree or disagree, let everybody's voice be heard. It's so important.
Like I said, I respect Manny. At least he's doing something, and he's out there, and he shows up at every council meeting. And
I'm gonna, like I said before, again, I want to get your number, have my director get over there and set up something for you.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna. I know I got another guest to get on here, right? Mr. Barney Grimes is here. I'm sorry, but I want to Manuel.
Sorry for hijacking your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in. But I wanted Manuel to tell the public about your candidacy a little bit, because
I'm running for a 4-year term on City Council, and first of all, I salute Mr. Hynes for calling in.
Yeah,
and
thank
Mr.
you.
Joe Jackson for the platform.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. But I am running for a 4-year term on the York City Council. I am on the general election ballot, Libertarian affiliated, so look for me on November 5th, and I hope I've won your vote tonight with some of what you've heard, and if not, I want you to check out more of what I'm about, my history in the community. You can go to yorklp.org, yorklp.org. Over 100 original articles from a libertarian philosophy are published there, most by myself and members of the Libertarian Party, right here in your local community, giving our perspective and basis for things. And you can go to abetteryork.com, abetteryork.com, to learn about myself and Dave Moser, who's running for mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you still in the Times?
Yeah, I'm with you, but
Okay.
I thought you were going to...
Yeah, we've done, like I said, but I'm going to make sure my director gets that number, because it's so important that we get to. I want to keep this going. It's very interesting. She's going to switch my flag. I just got to run this by the people. Folks, if you like what you see of our program, this is what it costs me, $50 a week to do this show. I got to pay for it. It ain't free for me. But $50 a week or $20 a month it costs us to do this show here. We try to get all the help we can to keep going for you. And I try to keep this thing on the airway for you, so everybody has a chance to be. The voice of freedom is so important. And I'm doing everything like we had Mr. Hynes coming in, and Manuel, and these folks. They talk about a lot of issues. We not only talk about the things going on with our government,